Coen, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me this
Thank you
morning.
for having me.
And it's evening for you. Where are you at in the
Um,
world?
I'm in the Netherlands. It's early evening, so it's 5 p.m.
Yeah,
Still light here in Europe. I'm in
and
the Netherlands. Yeah.
probably stays late into the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Until 10, 11, if we're lucky. If it's not
Well,
overcast.
it is such an honor to have you on the podcast. You and Karen have inspired so many people, myself included. I have just loved following along on your journeys, and the fact that you never stayed away from the challenging roads. You went to the most remote and
Hmm.
interesting countries in the world, and that really inspired me that it was possible to do that. And you both always did it with such a humble spirit and an openness, and you always had such positive experiences with the people that it showed me that the experience that someone has as a traveler is entirely dependent on their own attitude. And a special thanks to Real Truck for their support of this week's podcast. Find your freedom and follow your own trail in the fresh air of vast, uncharted places. Introducing the exclusive Real Truck lineup of overlanding accessories designed to take adventurous explorers just like you into the furthest reaches, with gear for camping, off-roading, and more, including the all-new Real Truck Go Rack, Go Tent, and Overland awning. And here's to those inspired, self-actualized, brave souls that are ready to unplug and check in to pure wilderness. Bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. Thanks again, Real Truck. Maybe we'll talk about that first.
Sure.
What do you feel like Karen and you have done as travelers that's helped make it so positive of an experience for you?
I think that in the beginning, we just wanted to get away and we didn't know how. There was no handbook or, well, maybe there was, but we didn't know where it was. And we just did things like we used to do when we were kids. You hop on a bicycle and you just go explore, and then that bicycle turned into a motorcycle. And then Karen said, "Well, motorcycles are great for weekend getaways, and you know, but not for that. What I had in mind, I wanted to get to
Yeah,
Asia." And she said
yeah,
no. And then this was 2003. Karen had never seen the internet. So I printed some stories, what I found from other travelers in Africa, because from Europe, Africa was the most normal thing that people from Britain traveled to. And then she said, wow, public transport is nice for a little bit, but we're always stuck in from city to city to city. We want something like that, what I just gave her. And
yeah.
so I asked my friends, we need wheels. And what should we get? And then one of my friends pointed me into an advert in the German cars for sale, and we went to have a look. And I didn't know jack about diesel cars, and
Sure.
so we brought a friend, and Karen and I saw the vehicle, the Land Cruiser, and said, "Wow, this is it." And my friend saw us looking, and she said, "Wait, hold your horses. Let's first see if this is a sound vehicle, And it was snow. It was freezing, but the car was cold, and it just glowed and started like that. And we made a test drive, and then that's it. That rest of history. And we just adapted that cruiser. It had been traveling before, so it had a nice shell in the back. But we just painted it and adapted it to our liking. And that's it. Throw in the
you
stuff
uh,
and go.
you painted it that yellow color.
Um, it was a bit beige yellowish. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did not do that. The previous owner did. And also, not only the outside, the inside, the underside, every part of that vehicle is yellow. And from the beginning, I didn't understand why. But later, we learned that if you lose something or you're in a workshop and you see stuff lying around that's that color yellow, you say, "Ooh, I think you guys missed something. This should also be on the truck." "Oh no, that's okay." I said, "No, no, look, this is our color." So everything is that color. Yeah,
That's smart. That's
yeah,
smart. And it became such an iconic vehicle. I mean, how it sounds as if you guys traveled for over 20 years in the same car.
yep. 21.
And how many kilometers do you think, or do you even know?
Uh, Not for sure, but we estimate roughly 500,000 kilometers
Wow.
without the engine being opened or overhauled.
Incredible. Only a
Yeah,
Land Cruiser could do that.
yeah, it is. Um, it we never anticipated that we never planned this. If we just it naturally evolved. We
Yep.
just wanted to get to Asia, and once we got there, we said, well, we're not going back. How can we make this last? And
Yeah.
then stuff happened.
And how did you make it last? How did you make a plan to
Oh,
continue to
first,
travel?
well, to continue, we lived off our savings in the beginning, and then I think after I had a very, very simple HTML website that I built myself to get the family informed every 2 weeks or whatever. And somehow that text and very small images got to an editor in the Netherlands, and we received an email. "Hey guys, great stuff you have there. Would you mind contributing to our magazine?" And so I replied, um, "I have no idea how to get images to you, and also this sounds like work. And that is something that we try to get away from." And then when the funds started plummeting and plummeting, that email arrived again. So I said, okay, let's make a test. And we we went to the Bangkok Hilton Hotel and drank very expensive tea in the lobby, and we could hook up the laptop to the internet. And I think it took me 6 hours to get 600 megs of images through there. And then within a few weeks, we got a reply. He said, "Great, guys, more every month." And they paid. So we did that for 18 years,
Unbelievable.
every month.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Karen did a marvelous job writing all those very nice articles.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you've contributed a lot to Overland Journal through the years. At least I can think of at least 12 to 13 years you've been contributing to Overland Journal. You've had some incredible cover photos
yeah.
and spreads in the magazine. Your images are always stunning.
When you guys, when you send me the, the first issues of the Overland Journal, or I received them somehow, I looked at this magazine. I told Karen, this is where we want to be. We want to get in this magazine. I mean, the quality and um, the space you guys offer without any, that there are so many magazines that have published our stories, and most of them have vanished. But for most of them, we are just filling for the advert, and so in Overland Journal, that's the other way around.
Yeah, we've always been careful to have a very low ad percentage in the magazine. So
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
and good ads.
Yeah, we try. We really try.
Yeah,
And your
yeah,
images, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your background. Before you guys got started traveling, you were a photographer and a graphic
yeah,
designer. So let's talk a little bit about,
yeah.
how that helped you in your travels to earn a living as well.
Hmm. I have always been fond of photography, and that's it had the foundation is in my education. And I remember my photography teacher, the first lessons, he handed out piece of carton with a square hole in it, and every student got a piece of carton with a square hole in it, and he says, "This is your camera for today. I want you to go outside and snap, frame, 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 snap images in your head. It doesn't matter if it's on film or whatever. Framing is the thing you have to learn." And that had always stayed with me, even so that when I'm driving the vehicle and I'm in a bizarre position with the vehicle that I can't get out because I'm having my foot on the brake and the clutch, I tell Karen to go outside, take the camera, and position yourself exactly in this spot, that spot, lower, deeper through the knees, and then aim the camera at this and this point. I know exactly what she is seeing through the
Yeah,
viewfinder.
sure.
I know what the frame should be, and I can't explain it, but you walk somewhere and you know already, oh, there's a moment coming. Something is happening here. This person is crossing the walk, and here this is happening. You see it happening before it
Yeah.
happens, and then you snap.
Well, and I see that in your images. You do such a a wonderful job of capturing kind of the joy and the culture that you're experiencing and the people. And I think that that's such an important part because you're capturing a moment in history. And if you go back to that same place 10 years later, which I'm sure you've done, you've probably come back to a place 10 years later
Yep,
and it's so different.
yep, yeah. Um, and you don't know why, but yeah, you go back to places and then they are different. The feeling is
Yeah.
different. The people you meet is different. The vibe is
Yep.
different.
And when you first did that trip across Asia, what was your route that you took?
We did not have any clue, so and we just went to the second-hand bookstore and we got a map of Europe. I said, okay, this is the way to Asia. So we just drove from Germany to Turkey and then Iran. So Greece, Turkey, Iran, and then there's hardly any deviation possible. From Iran, you just enter into Pakistan, and from Pakistan, the only way out is to India. And then it got more difficult because of Myanmar being not possible because of the military. And we learned that people drove into Bangladesh and shipped from there into a container to Thailand or Malaysia. And we just went to the border of Bangladesh. And I remember we needed to get a visa, meeting the consul. And he said, "Welcome to my office. Here you have tea, sit down. What's your idea? Have you any clue what my country is about?" And we haven't, because if you ask people even now about Bangladesh, people start talking about floodings, devastations, every year. So that's what we had in our minds. And so he asked us, how long do you want the visa for? I said a week or two. We just want to get to the port and ship. Oh, none of that, he said. I'll give you a month. Boom. Enjoy my country. So, and we did. We met such a wonderful people in that
Wow.
country, and yeah,
What were
amazing.
some of
And
the
that is
highlights of Bangladesh?
the history, the architectural history, and also new. So mosques being rebuilt by local carpenters and local stonemasons, and yeah, Buddhist history there also, ancient monasteries. It's amazing. Um, Food.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember eating with local people, and then after the plate was, you learn eating with your hands in
Sure.
India, but in Bangladesh, it is taken to another level. Your plate is finished. Well, you think it's finished, and then the people tap you on the shoulder and says, you're not emptying your plate. So, what do you mean? It's empty. No, no, no. So all the gravy and the juice and what's left, and but there's no more rice to soak it all up. And then they'll show you what to do. They just lay their hand flat in their dish and lick their fingers. Really. And they say, all the vitamins and everything, the good stuff is on the bottom of the plate. So you have to, and
I
that
love
and
that.
it takes some time,
Yes.
but I got the hang of it. Yeah.
I love that. It's and every country has a slightly different culinary experience. You just
Yeah.
never know what you're gonna get. You never know what you're gonna get.
No, it's always a surprise.
Which I love. I love. And sometimes it's a good surprise, and sometimes it's not as good
Yep.
of a surprise.
Sometimes you get blisters in your mouth because of Karen. She cannot smell by birth, and I have always been in that part of the trip her how we say queen's
Yeah,
pre-taster,
sure.
because if it's too hot she cannot eat it, and she'll get blisters in her
Sure.
mouth, and she had that a few times. So I pre-taste everything, and then people look strangely at me. So what are you doing? I say, oh, I'm pre-tasting for her, and then I have to explain, and people laugh. Oh, laugh,
Sure,
yeah.
they understand a little bit better. Yeah,
They
yeah.
understand.
So you
Yeah.
ship from Bangladesh into what
Yep.
country?
Into
Mm.
Singapore, and we didn't know if the car would fit into a container or not. We just drove to port, and somebody put a container there. I backed it up rear to the container, and we saw that it was hopeless. So we took the roof tent off and all the boxes, and then still we got say 10 centimeters or 5 inch too tall,
You had
and
to
then
let the air out of the
emptied
tires, huh?
all the
Yeah,
air.
sure.
Yeah, all. First made sure it was lined up with the container
Yeah.
so that we didn't have to steer anymore. And then it just went in. It scraped a little bit of the, but yeah, it went in. So that was a surprise to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. And then
Yeah.
and then what port did you go into after that?
So Singapore, I have a cousin living in Singapore, so he picked us up from the airport. And you hear all these stories. Singapore won't allow any caravanning or whatever in there, and we just silenced our. Oh, first, what you do when shipping, you go to the office of the shipping liner, and you get an estimate of the time of arrival. And we had ample of time, and I wanted to visit the office, and my cousin said, "Well, there's phones here, Singapore works with phones." So I phoned the company, and to my surprise, the other side said, "Well, the ship already landed, and your container is waiting in the on the docks." I said, "No, how can that be?" So we made our way over to the office there, paid some stuff, and then we had to find a broker, a customs broker with a inbound warehouse, and everything went so smooth there.
Amazing.
It was, yeah, it was very nice. And we just drove on the streets there without having a what I'm not sure what there's toll badges and toll boxes that you had to install, and we had no trouble whatsoever. And from there we just rolled into Malaysia.
Amazing.
Yeah, also a great country, great people, great food.
And how many
Yeah,
years did you spend? That's one of the things that I loved about your travels is slow travel. You guys would spend a year
yep,
or more in a country sometimes.
yep.
So how long did you
Well, we
spend it?
spent 1 year in India,
Incredible.
or 11 months.
Incredible.
And then when we finally got to the Southeast Asia part, so that's um, Bangladesh and Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, we noticed that it was very difficult to get longer periods of time to spend in those countries. It's a 1 month visa policy, which you can't extend. You have to go to the capital city, apply for a visa for the next country, and which cost money. You have to plan, and we're not, we just want to roll up to the border, cross it, and get a stamp. That's the ideal situation. And that is what happened to us in South America. So 3.5 years, no, 3 years in Southeast Asia learned us that, because after that there's only ocean, and then where do we go ahead next? We heard a lot of people go to Australia, go to Africa, but when we learned that Africa was more of the same as in Southeast Asia, where you have only 1 month of visa, you'd have to apply for that, and a quick cross through Africa is easily 20 countries, times $50 visa, times 2, and all the hassle of visiting all those capitals, was that we want to be free.
Yeah.
We want not to be locked into something like that. And then we learned from somebody that South America is like that. You just roll up to the border, get a stamp, welcome to my country, stay 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And if it's not enough time, you just hop across the same border or another one and come back the next day and get another 3 months. I mean, wow. So we planned maybe 4 months and head to Alaska, but in the end we stayed 9 years in South America.
Yeah.
Because you learn the language, you converse with the people deeper, you get a deeper understanding of the countries, and yeah, fantastic. You've been there, so yeah, it's fantastic.
It is fantastic, and that was actually the first time that Karen, you and I got to meet in person. We were in Bogota, if I remember correctly.
Colombia.
Yeah, in Colombia. And I can't remember. I mean, Sinway was with me, but I can't remember if we had finished our trip or if we were about to start our trip on the motorcycles. But it was so nice that we had breakfast together and we got to spend time together in person, which, despite how long we had known each other and such admiration that I have for the two of you, it was nice to finally meet. And a special thanks to Warner, home of the Ineos Grenadier and the Mercedes-Benz Van Center, Warner. Whether you're traveling through canyon country in your Sprinter or across continents in your Grenadier, Warner has become a trusted stop for serious overlanders. I have personally serviced my quartermaster at Warner and have seen the work they do to their successful Rebel Rally competition Grenadiers. Matt Scott has experienced Warner too, helping his father-in-law buy a Grenadier from the dealership a few months ago. Warner has become known for supporting travelers in both Grenadiers and Sprinters, whether it's outfitting, maintenance, or helping with complex expedition builds. I have seen their team contribute to the community through sponsoring events, Rebel Rally teams, vehicle training, and remote technical support. It also helps that Tony Warner is an overlander himself, so he is committed to fitting high-quality components and helping fellow travelers. As a thank you for the podcast listeners, they are offering $500 off a new or used Ineos or Sprinter, or 10% off parts and service up to $500. Just tell them you heard about it on the Overland Journal podcast. Thanks again, Tony, and the Warner team for your support of this week's podcast.
In hindsight, I slapped myself across the face that we did not bring the Land Cruiser. But because it was in Bogota, but across town, and it was very difficult driving there in traffic, and we just made it with public transport or a taxi or whatever. And I said, in hindsight, I said, I would have loved to show you guys the Land Cruiser.
Well, it was just so nice. It
But
was
anyway,
so
we
nice.
got to
Yes, it
meet.
was so nice to spend time
Yeah,
together, and I love that photo. You sent it to me just recently in the email exchange,
yeah,
and I just love that photo. You could see all of our smiles. We were having such a good
yeah.
time spending time together.
It was a good
Yeah,
time.
spending time
Yeah,
together. And I think when I look at your journeys, I think one of the things that really stands out, there's a couple things that really stand out about Karen and you. First of all, is that you do go very deep. You slow travel. You spend a lot of time in the countries. You don't ever get too obsessed about the gear or the vehicle. You have a good Land Cruiser. You've had to repair it, and you've replaced a lot of things on it through the years.
sure.
But you found a way to keep that vehicle going. But maybe give some people some insights into what you've learned by not getting so caught up in the gear and really focusing on traveling slow. What are some of the How has that changed Karen and you in some ways?
I think that most people, no, I'm not, I don't want to go that way. In You never know what you will need if you have no experience. We in Europe, or in my family, we are used to camping. When we are kids, you go across the border. We live in a very small country. You speak the four languages from your youth, and you adapt. And if you need something, you knock on the door, or the next door neighbor has a hammer. You make it work. You are never ever prepared for everything. It's
Yeah.
impossible. So the same with traveling in a vehicle or on a motorcycle or in a bicycle. On a bicycle, we learn as kids to, if you have a flat tire, to fix it. Your dad will take you and take off the tire and put it in water and find the
Yeah.
hole and paste it and glue it. That's how you learn. And so while traveling, also with the vehicle, uh, you get so many advice from people. Oh, you need this. Oh, you're going that way. Oh, all my friends came to me. Oh, Coen, guys, you are going a far away trip with this. If your water pump breaks, you need a spare water pump. And then the other comes. Oh, you need an alternator. Oh, you need this. Oh, so I told Karen, shit, my friends tell me I need to bring all that stuff. And she became very upset and said, Koen, you told me this car will never fall to pieces, and if things break, we can fix it in every corner. So we're not bringing all those spare parts because one is it costs a fortune, and then we can have a
Yeah.
trailer. So we left without any spare parts, and then later we learned, okay, some very very small, lightweight seals, from the driving shafts, and that is very handy to
Yeah.
have because that's not easy to
Yeah.
find. And if you have one set of bearings that can fit everywhere, that you learn, but you are never prepared. You only learn while doing.
Yeah.
And the same thing, people tell you you need a winch on the front. Well, there was a winch on the car when we bought it, so we left it in place. It never worked, um, but we fixed it in the end.
Did you find that
But I would never,
you use the winch much?
not much.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, if we would start all over, I would not have spent money to get a
Yeah.
winch.
And
Um,
you
it's
guys
all,
went some really rough roads. I mean, just for for the
yeah.
listener to have perspective. So Kuhn just said you don't need a winch, but I have seen the roads that you travel on. You guys do not travel on the main routes. You travel very remote, and for you to say
Yep.
that, that's quite telling.
I remember one place. It was the lost Ho Chi Minh Trail in. So this is border area, Laos and Vietnam. It's on nobody's map. It's not on a map, and we just heard people, and you know the stories that the Vietnamese used these Laotian jungle tracks to transport military stuff. And we wanted to see what was left of that. And when we were closer and closer, we heard people talking about remnants and uh, shells lying around in the jungle. And I asked them, "Can we drive there?" Oh, and we found some trails, and that led to a small village. And we went to the village headmaster, and he pointed us. I just had some rough names of small towns or villages, and and I asked them, where is this, where is this, and they just pointed directions, and I pointed the Land Cruiser in that direction, shift in first gear, and then the track got narrower and narrower and narrower, and then people started coming in front of the car and said, no, 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 you can't go here. This is for motorcycle only, and or scooters. And I said, well, if that's scooters, we can do that as well. So, and I remember looking to my left or right, and I see Karen with wide open eyes, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, no turning back now," and went over the hill, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and the only thing I see is a bunch of boys from the village with shovels. You know what that
They're
means?
smart.
Yeah, they want to make a buck,
Yeah.
and but we did not beat them. We it took us 5 days to get across that piece.
Amazing.
A lot of stones and rocks we had to because we didn't have any plates, max
Yeah,
tracks or
sure.
whatever. That would have been helpful. Um, yeah, for sure. But it also went with rocks
Yeah.
and carrying.
Just some human effort.
Yeah.
Some
Yep.
human effort. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that the winch would have helped there because no trees in and around.
Yeah.
Max track would have helped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But the Land Cruiser is, I mean, it's a tractor, and it just
Yes.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
love
that
that. I
diesel.
love that about your trips is that the vehicle looks it has its own personality, but it's not heavily modified. It's very simple, and the
Yeah.
places that you've taken it. I mean, how many countries total did you go through?
Oof. I have no idea. 50 plus.
Yeah.
I really don't have a clue. And to be honest, a lot of people ask that, and I said, for us, that's not
Yeah.
important. There's no boxes to tick or how many countries or how many. It's we measure. I remember we met a Canadian. He's a friend of ours now, and he works at a carpenter as a carpenter, and every winter there's hardly any jobs for him. So winter he takes his backpack and he starts traveling the world in warmer climates, and he brings with him a small an allergen bottle full of maple syrup. And then when he comes back, he measures the amount of maple syrup still in the bottle, and that means to him how many friends and nice people he met because he shares his maple syrup on the pancakes and the
I
stuff.
love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too. I remember that. And so every year we still have email contact. I said in January, and I asked him, Marty, how much maple syrup you have left now? Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
you've
and with us it's the
yeah.
same
No, you've been a
people.
really important reminder to me to check fewer boxes. I know in my own travels, I've always been, maybe it's just an American thing, but I'm always striving to get to something new and probably to check more boxes than I should have. So Karen and you have always been a really important reminder. Maybe let some of that go and go a little deeper and spend a little more time changing yourself, learning and growing as a person. So
Yep. Yeah, it's your approach, your how you respond to your environment, even if the environment is hostile, but it's not. It's never. It could be, but we don't want it to be. So uh, the the outside world reflects on you the way you. I remember we had such a great time in Pakistan. Our crossing, 9 months of Pakistan, and then in the north of India, we met a young couple, a Swiss couple, and they were so happy to see us and to get talking. And so the first thing I said, "How did you like Pakistan?" Oh, they said dangerous country, and all these people with long beards and Kalashnikovs. And I said, "Huh? Well, did you not drink tea?" And they said, "Oh, we didn't stop." I said, "How can that be?" And then I looked at their car, and it was a slightly more modern Land Rover, I think. But they had I asked them, "Do you guys have air conditioning?" And they said yes. Oh, okay. So you drive with your windows rolled up? They said yeah. Okay. So I think that if you change that, you know, open your windows, stick your arm outside, and slow down, look outside, wave to the people, and then that same guy with the Kalashnikov, whatever, just motions you over to have some tea. And you sit there and you have a marvelous time.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's your how you look to the world, they look also to you,
yeah,
I think. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's our approach. Stop, talk, and if you have questions or if you have a problem or you need help, people can't see that you need help. You have to open your mouth and ask where you need help.
yeah.
Yep.
I've always admired your guys' perspective. Where do you feel like that process of change started for you? Have you always, like, you have a bit of a Zen uh, energy about you? I'm trying to simplify it. Of course, it's more complex than that, but you both have this a lot of peace, a lot of joy. You seem very happy. There's a lot of kind of Zen in the way that you live your life. What was the process that you went through to get to that, or is that always how you felt?
Um, I think that I have always been a person that knows my I know where my goal is, and I want to get to the goal no matter what. And I know from experience that you make mistakes, and then your goal gets further away from you. So you adapt, you make changes. And so I remember it was in Iran. We had I stepped onto the windshield wiper when getting off the roof, and some very small plasticky thing broke inside the window wiper connections. Very small thing. And driving in Iran, we've seen a few Land Cruisers there that work in the oil industry. And we meet a local young man, and I asked him if he can point me, if he has any idea how to solve this little plasticky problem. And he speaks a little bit of English, and he brings us to a workshop, and he translates to the mechanic what the problem is, and then the mechanic says, "Oh, I think I have something lying around here. Come back after lunch, and we'll fix it." So the guy that we spoke to that translates and helps us, he takes us to his house because in the meantime he has contacted his mother, and we are invited for lunch. After lunch we get back, and the mechanic says, "Oh, I'm sorry guys, I couldn't find anything." And at the same time, a Land Cruiser 40 series stops across the street, and the driver gets out and he comes to the mechanic and asks what these foreigners are doing there, and the mechanic explains that we have a small problem with the plastic part of the window wiper, and we don't understand what they are saying, but we see what is happening, that the driver directs the mechanic to his car, and the mechanic starts dismantling his window wiper and gets the plastic part from his car and install it into our car. And I said, "Whoa, what's happening here?" And our translator is there, and he says, "Don't worry, don't worry." So I'm trying to compensate the driver somehow. So I reach into my pocket, and he sees what's happening, and he says, "No, no, no, none of that. You are a visitor to our country, and like that." So the goal for me at that point is to get the window wiper fixed. And I don't know how to do it, but yeah, sometimes you just have to let faith run its course and see what's happening. And sometimes you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to believe.
I've heard that about the people of Iran. Everyone
Yeah,
that's ever been there that I've talked to, politics and the government aside, everything that I
right.
have heard is that the people of Iran are some of the kindest, most genuinely hospitable
Yep.
people that some travelers have ever met going around the world.
And they learned us, the people, that the people and the government are not the same. We, as we are growing up in our country, we identify or we believe that the government represents us, and we've we've seen some strange things in the country, the yearly protests that are televised all over the world, where they burn the American flag and they burn the Israeli flag, and we locked ourselves up in a small hostel because we were also stuck with a stomach bug, and somebody came to the door and said, "Better not go out. We'll have food here." And we saw people marching, young kids with guns and burning the flags. And then later in the evening, things died down. And I said to Karen, "I need to get some food for tomorrow morning or whatever." So I'm going out, and I roamed the streets, bonfires left and right, and happy people, nothing hostile. And I saw a bunch of people and young guys that came to me and "Hey brother, how are you doing?" They said in English. "Where are you from?" they asked me. And I don't know what happened or what overcome to me, but I've always been I want to arouse something. So I said, I'm American." And they, "Oh, welcome, brother." And they hugged me and whatever. And then I said, "You have some explaining to do. Because what I saw today doesn't correspond with what you say now." And he said, "We love Americans. We have a lot of cousins, uncles, whatever, living in America. We don't like the government, but the Americans,
Yeah.
So that's what they said. Government and people are not the same. He said the same in my country. The government has rules here that we don't like. Government and people are not the same.
Yeah.
So that was an eye opener.
Yeah. What an incredible lesson. And as a special thanks to you listeners, the Overland Journal podcast is made possible because of listeners like yourself and because of the subscribers to the Overland Journal magazine. So if you go on to overlandjournal.com and you subscribe to the print magazine, you can use the code Overland Podcast at checkout for 20% off. Thanks again for your support. I mean, you're such an important member of this community, and I know that you're going through some health challenges at the moment. Are you okay
Correct.
sharing that with us?
Yeah, yeah. So last winter we had to take the gearbox of the Land Cruiser apart because it was stuck in third for a long time. And we were in the northeast of Turkey, and I knew this was coming, so I had some parts collected over time. And Karen said, I'll spend Christmas with my family, so you enjoy your work in the workshop. So it's snowing outside, and I met other travelers, and they asked me what I was going to do for the winter. I said, I have no idea. My first goal is to fix the gearbox. What are you doing? And he said, we are going to Cyprus. I said, Cyprus? I mean, that's an island, right? In the Mediterranean. Yeah, you drive to the south of Turkey and there's a ferry boat. Within 10 hours, you are on the, not tropical, but on the Mediterranean island. I said, okay. So I looked in there and I sent Karen a message. Not fly back to here, but fly back to Cyprus. So we were on Cyprus. She flew there. I picked her up from the airport. We had a lovely time together. Then a friend of hers visited us, and we were driving the small island. And I am behaving strangely, Karen said later. I started driving more and more to the left side of the road. Well, in Cyprus, former British colony, we are driving on the left side of the road anyway, but I started picking the pavement with the left wheel. And I don't know what was happening. I felt that something was wrong. And Karen said, stop the car. I'm sitting next to you for the last 20 plus years, and I never felt unsafe, but now I'm concerned. Please let me drive. So I said, sure. So I scoot over and she drives, and then within the next 5 minutes, I have an epileptic seizure, and I fall away. She grabs my chin, and my eyes are both white. She drives me to the hospital, and I have some quick tests done and scan, and the doc says this isn't looking right. We have to do an MRI. So the next thing I know, I'm in an MRI, and I see another doc, and he said, please sit down, and he presents me with an image on a machine. There's a golf ball sized tumor in my brain. He says, this is not good. This is not what we want. We don't know what it is, if it is malignant or I don't know the English terms,
that's correct,
but
yeah.
if it's good or bad. We could do an puncture and see, but it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It has to go. It is pressing in certain parts of your brain. It just has to go. We have to operate. And I looked the doc in the eye and I said, well, have you done this before? Yeah, I said, we have done this before. I said, good. When can we do this? He said, tomorrow we'll do another MRI, and then next thing we'll operate. I said, good, let's go. And then at that moment, I didn't fully realize what was happening and what was going on. Karen and her good friend, they were crying and standing there, and they fully knew what was going on. But I was operated 1 year ago.
Yeah.
That is July 1st, 24. And I wake up and I look the doc in the eye and said, Doc, how am I doing? He says, you're talking, so you're doing great.
Sure.
The operation went good. We are discharging you from intensive. You are going to general ward. I said, great. Is my wife going to be there? Yeah, I just WhatsApped her. He said, she is there. I said, great, because today is her birthday. And they rolled me through the hospital, me singing loudly happy birthday. And Karen is entering the hospital, and everybody's congratulating her, and she doesn't know what's happening. And so she asked, yeah, your husband is singing everything, like that. Anyway, this is 1 year ago, and I'm still dealing with the after effects because the tumor is back. They could operate and take out the golf ball sized tumor, but there was still some remnants there, and it's weaving through the brain. It's pressing and causing, what's the right English word? It's causing dysfunction to my left side. So I'm having trouble. Um, Not power is still there, but the neuro, so the control from the brain is not fully.
Yeah.
So I'm having trouble placing my fingers, and when I'm walking, to put my feet where I want. The first thing I told the doc, I said, I know that I'm going to get radiation, and I know I'm going to get chemotherapy probably, and also know that this will bring a lot of waste into my body, and that needs to go. So I need to keep moving and get all that stuff out of my body. The only thing I know how is by running. So I told him I'm going to run a marathon. And he looks at Karen like, what's he saying? And Karen looks at him and says, let him talk. But last year, I ran the half marathon of Amsterdam. I ran the half marathon here in my own city. And April 13th, that was just over a month ago, I ran a full marathon of in here.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, and look at me now. I have to be with a crutch. Running is not feasible anymore now. Walking is difficult. I am very happy that I have a tricycle at my hand from a friend. I could borrow a tricycle, so I'm mobile. I have good friends and family around me, so I just need to give a shout and people drive me all over the
Sure.
country or whatever. But I walk outside the door, I step on the tricycle, I cycle to my mother, my father, my sister lives nearby, I have aunts and uncles nearby, go for coffee and lunch, and I'm very independent. I go to the hospital on the bicycle, and I love
Yeah.
that. I do what is possible, and I don't just sit and uh, cry and mourn over what is
Yeah.
lost. I do what is possible, and because yeah, I think my passion is trail running, so that's running in the forests, and I've done a few ultra marathons in Philippines and Taiwan. I love that,
Yeah.
really, but in my condition now, it's too dangerous. I learned the hard way with friends. They took me for a run through the forest, ended up with my face full in the whatever. So I said, okay, this is not possible anymore. But what is possible is road running. I don't like it, but that is what is
Yeah.
possible. So up to a month ago, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're,
So that is
yeah.
my condition. And when I go to the hospital, I ask the doctors. I said, what can you do for me? And said, Koen, this is incurable. And I said, what? You're just leaving me to die in a gutter here? And well, not with those words, but they can't do
Yeah.
anything. So I'm making the best of it.
Yeah. Well, we're
Yeah,
as a community, we're all here for you, and we're so grateful for all of the inspiration that you have given us. And um, what advice would you give to others? Maybe to someone just starting their first journey like you did 20 something years ago. Now that you're looking back through the lens of having seen the world, and now you're dealing with what is a serious health condition, what advice would you give maybe to your younger self or to someone else? What advice would you give?
take in every day that you can and make it work.
Yeah.
Enjoy what you have and not always yearn for more or better or go and explore. Exploring doesn't mean far away. It can be around your own city or state. You can take your bicycle or your backpack. It doesn't have to be comparable. You don't have to measure against others. And this is not a competition. You go out into your own city, and I remember also one of my, sorry, the first photography teachers. He gave us a roll of film, 36 clicks, and he said, now go into the environment that you know best in your house. Means he meant the bathroom, so the toilet. You go there and you click 36 images. So that makes you observe more and deeper, because you know that place by heart, but when you go there and you really observe to take interesting pictures and search for angles, and you you see more than you'd ever thought you would see. Try it. Go in the bathroom and look around. So, and that's the same with exploring. You have 6 people that go into the same fair or town or museum, and afterwards you ask what you've seen, you get different answers. So it's about you and the state of being that you are in, um, and yeah. So just go and explore. Talk to people. Ask what what they think of their town or village, or what you should see or visit.
Yeah.
We go to the town hall of small villages and ask them what is worth seeing. What should we see as a visitor if they don't have any um, planned things, and you're amazed what they come up
Yeah.
with.
That
Yeah,
is incredible.
and make it work with the things you have.
Yeah, and you guys have done that. It's been incredible to watch how
Yep.
you guys have adapted, and you never chased the shiny objects. You always chased experiences together. Um, what
Yeah.
are what's something that you're most proud of Karen? What, when you think about her?
The sheer amount of notes that she takes, and we are so grateful for the notes because, as you have known, we are now publishing
Yes.
books, and those stories can only be written when you have enough notes. Um, of course, there are also the magazine articles that we combined into the books, but without those notes, stories are just vague
Mm.
memories. And it's also funny that we sometimes have discrepancies where we tell stories and then nudge each other and said, "No, no, that's not true. That wasn't a red car or a blue car." And she comes up with notes, and she says it was a yellow car or whatever. Yeah. So this is also I want to give people. We are now in an age where digital photography is so common. Everybody has a smartphone, so taking pictures is second to none for a lot of people because they share them. But also take notes. You have a coffee with somebody, ask the guy's name. And I see that I do it myself. I take a picture of a setting where we are drinking coffee, and then I enter the guy's name in the under the picture.
Yeah, sure.
And then you have the date, the time, and then the name. So taking notes is um, is very
Yeah,
important.
that's great advice, and it's always been so sweet to me to see your relationship with Karen and how you guys have traveled so well together. What's some advice that you can give to a couple that's getting ready to travel maybe 20 years in the same car together?
Yeah. Okay, so Karen wrote a nice article on that. So many years without killing each other. Um, I think that we left the Netherlands without having lived in a house together. So we had to learn how to live in a close environment
Yeah.
together. And I think the most important lesson we learned is that, yes, of course, you have fights. That in a relationship, that's normal. But what is not normal, in our case, if you have a regular life, you have escapes. You go to work the next day, or you go in the evening to have sports. You meet with your friends, and you can gossip or you can talk it over and talk it out of your system. And then you meet again and say, "Ah, yesterday was bad, sorry or whatever." But if you don't have the escapes, you have to create space, time, and room for each other. And that is what we have learned to do. That was one, is create space. So Karen would say, "Oh, I'm going for a walk," and then she would go for an hour walk.
Sure.
Or if I see that she's reading a book in a corner, I know that she doesn't want to be disturbed. And the same thing that when I'm tinkering with the Land Cruiser, she knows that. So you create your own environment, and you can't do everything together all the time. So cooking or doing dishes is also self-time. You can't do it all the time together. And so that's important to learn. And another thing that we learned is that if you have fights, stop the car, talk, and get it out of your system. What is on your heart? You can then discuss that or talk about it, and the other knows how you're
Yeah.
feeling. It doesn't always solve it directly, but it doesn't give it time to build up and into a big explosive device,
Yeah. Sure.
because that's the thing that will happen if you let it simmer. So talk
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
very good. That's wonderful advice, and a lot of people travel together, and we all need to hear that reminder. Give each other some space and make sure that you talk it out.
Yep.
Your books are wonderful. Let's talk about um, your books that you've released. What's the title of the book, and how do people find it?
So the we're talking about English
Yep.
books, because we are now working on our fourth Dutch book, which will eventually also find its way into English. But the first English book is Forever Off
Yes.
Track, and you can find it now on Amazon in black and white, um, meaning text only, no images. That's printing on demand. You can find it on Kindle, but I think that you're missing out on the color images. Um, the color version, I think, is also available. I don't know if you know this, but our Land Cruiser at this moment is hosted at the Land Cruiser Heritage Museum in
I
Utah.
love that.
So if people want to see the vehicle up close and personal and touch it and see and smell the insides, and it's there how we have traveled in it. There's a bunch of books available in the museum
Mm.
store. If they are sold out for whatever reason, you can still find the color version on our website. And yeah,
And how do people? You have an Instagram. Your personal Instagram has a lot of beautiful photography. What's your Instagram accounts?
um, I must say that I'm not active on Instagram as I used to be. So my photo Coen has an Instagram. I think I changed that to Tumor Coen or Tumor Runner when I was running, and I think it's now um,
Yeah, they can
yeah.
see some of the
But
photos there.
Landcruising
Yeah.
Adventure, yeah, uh, yeah,
No, thank you. And please take a look at their books. Your books are wonderful. We look forward to getting an update when you have the English version of the other books available.
yeah.
So,
I want to say that when when we were preparing the car and stuffing it yet another time in a container and bringing it to the States, Karen said, I want to make a color book, a coffee table color book with the highlights of 21 years of Land Cruising Adventure. So she asked me, please give me all the highlight images in high res. So I did that, and she then spent 2 months sorting and combining images into a book, and she printed it. And when her mother saw the book, her mother said, "Oh, I want one as well." So that book is, I hope that it is with the car in the museum, but we combined it in the car. And when I saw the book, I told Karen, I want to make a color version on Amazon one day. So I'm going to do that this year,
I love that. I
hopefully.
love that.
Yeah, it will be a bit more expensive because it will be a hardcover, large
Sure.
format coffee table book. But I think people will love it.
Well, and we'll make sure to let everybody know when that's available on the podcast so that people can find it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience, Coen, before we go?
Um, Not sure. Stay passionate. Never stop
Yeah.
exploring. You do a great work with your outlets, and I am happy to have met you and come in contact with you and the Overland International community.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, you also the community has been of great help, um, and that's how it's supposed
That's
to
right.
be, helping each other.
I
So
went. You guys had a really neat event that you would hold in the Netherlands,
yeah,
and I remember coming to your event, and you had prepared a tent for me, and you gave me a pillow, and I got to spend some time with you guys and your community, and it was like no other event I've ever been to. Everybody there was so incredibly well traveled, and nobody bragged about it. If you asked questions, it was always about the places that they went or the people that they encountered. You guys have created one of the most incredible events I've ever been to.
it has evolved. It was never created. Um, we For Karen, it was very important to be back home once a
Yeah,
year to see the family, and so 11 months of travel, 1 month of holiday, I call it, in the Netherlands, and then I like to combine that with visiting people that we had met during the travel, and this grew into a small group of people, and we made it into an annual thing, meeting each other for at somebody's house, making pancakes. And then when more and more people joined, we couldn't, you couldn't ask people to invade somebody's house with 20 people. So we asked the campsite nearby, can we, crash here with vehicles, and yeah, sure. So then people asked if they could bring another friend that also wanted to travel and had lots of questions. I said, sure, bring people. And this is how the Overland reunion came to be. And then when you were in the neighborhood and asked to come, I said, sure. I mean, and I remember you came and we rushed over to the Decathlon or whatever and bought a small
Yeah,
tent and air
I
mattress
remember.
and the gist of the meeting is nothing is organized. There's no talks, no commercial interest. You don't pay us. You just pay the
Yeah,
campsite, and you bring your own
yeah.
food. We make sure that there is enough barbecues, or everybody brings a barbecue, and then mm, as barbecues go, everybody brings too much. So I think that we don't even bring food anymore. Um, so I remember you came and I asked you, I think, you want something to drink? What do you want to drink? And you had, oh yeah, beer or what? And so I just raised my hand. We walked through the camp and said, guys, anybody has a beer here for Scott? And
That's right.
and people open their fridges and
That's right.
yeah, sure. What do you like? And the same with
Yeah,
food.
that's so good. Yeah, that was so
It's
good.
share alike. Yeah, and yeah, I like that this community that we call friends now, um, there's no explanation needed. Everybody knows how the dices roll.
Yeah. And it's such a
Yeah,
reflection of Karen and you and your travels. You guys have lived so authentically and you've inspired so many people. Both of you have inspired so many people to get out and see the world. And I'm just so honored that we had the chance to have you on the podcast today. And the whole community is behind you. We're all rooting for you, and we're all here for you. If there's anything that we can do to support you on this next journey that you're on, please let us know. And thank you again so much, Coen, for being on the podcast with
thank
me.
you for having me. I would have loved to be there in
Yeah.
person. I also said to Greg Miller of the Landcruising Heritage Museum that in September there's the Cruiser
Yes.
Fest. I would have loved to be there in person, but my medical condition is not allowing me to do that right now. Maybe the future will. I have no, I don't have a glass
Yeah.
ball or a
Yeah.
crystal ball. But seeing how I behave, not behave, um, how do you say that?
Yeah.
Respond to the chemotherapy. I'm now having a very strong dose, and seeing how I respond, I said to Karen, I can handle this. If this stays for another 30 years, I'll be happy to take the
Yeah.
pills and do that. But we also have to be honest and we have to look beyond that. So we have to
Yeah.
plan. And my imminent death is part of
Yeah.
that. So we are talking about that. And we also want the community, our friends, to be part of that. As I said, I want to be cremated. And after I'm dead, I am not stopping traveling. I
I love that.
I have my ashes being uh, spread into the community, and I have people bringing me to the Amazon,
Okay.
people bringing to me to
Yeah.
Siberia. Um, so never stop
Never
exploring.
stop exploring.
And my my grandma said, "We have no idea if there is life after death, but what we do know is it must be great because we have never seen anybody coming back from the death." So I'm going to visit my grandma's
Yeah.
and to visit my aunts and uncles there on the other
Yeah.
side. And I am well prepared. I am not scared. I know how to travel and I know how to travel that side as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this time with me today, Coen. I so appreciate you and Karen, everything that you've done for Overland Journal. It's been such an honor to know you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Let's do
Yeah,
that. Thank you,
thank you,
Scott,
Coen.
and until we meet again.
Absolutely.
Is it here or in person or on the
That's
podcast?
right. That sounds great. Thank you, Coen,
Yeah,
and we thank you all for listening. And we'll talk to you next time.
yeah. Stay passionate.
Yes, keep exploring.
Never stop
Yeah.
exploring. Yeah.